Thank you so much, Olli-Pekka Heinonen, for taking the time. We're a week away from EduFest. This will not be the first time that you join us. We've had the pleasure of welcoming you before, but we're very excited nonetheless to have you back next week. Especially, I believe you have published a book in the meantime. So could you please tell the audience, what is your name, what is your job title, and what do you do within that role?
My name is Olli-Pekka Heinonen, and my job title is Director General of the International Baccalaureate. And that means that I'm in charge of the general leadership of the organization of IB. Actually, I don't really, my leadership thinking doesn't start with individual persons. My leadership philosophy starts with leadership being a quality of an organization. So for me, it's very important that to spread the responsibility of the leadership as widely in the organization as possible. And that's what I'm trying to do. And also not only in the organization, but also among the larger IB community, whether we are talking about the schools, the students, the parents, but also the IB associations in different parts of the world, or the IB Educator Network, which has about 50,000 highly qualified educators, heads and administrators in it, and universities, of course, also. So that's how I see what my role is, really to bring those people together to do their best for us to move to the same direction of enabling human flourishing for young people.
And was this something that you always kind of had in mind? Were you always in education, or how did you end up in this position? I'm always very curious to know what was kind of the career progression, so to speak. I don't know, maybe you had a past life as a chef or a musician, and now you're doing this. But could you tell us a little bit about your career progression?
Well, I would say that you hit pretty close, because I've been a musician for also almost a year in my life. On my young years, I think everything in my life, when I think about the career path, has happened accidentally. So I did not intend to enter those positions that I've been through. I'm a lawyer, yeah, in addition to having a musical education background also, but I'm a lawyer, and I intended to go to law. But then I was just asked to come to work for a while in the Finnish parliament. And I thought it was an interesting possibility right when I was graduating from law school. But then I was asked to go to join the Minister for Education and Science in the ministry in Finland, and there I was. And then in 2 days, I noticed that I've been nominated the Minister for Education and Science in Finland at the age of 29, which was extremely scary for myself, because I've never had any intention to be in that kind of post. And that ended then me being 8 years in 3 different governments in ministerial positions, and also then the member of the parliament. But as I said, because I didn't intend to do that, then I wanted to do something else, and then I was the television director for the National Broadcasting Company for 10 years, responsible of the digitalization of television, and of course all television programs and channels. And then I went back to closer to the national decision making. I was the state secretary in the Prime Minister's office, and actually then also in several other ministries before I became the Director General of the National Agency for Education in Finland. And that's the position from where I ended up with IB. I'm on the only kind of thing that I think I've done intentionally is that I always get that feeling that when I'm in a post which is strongly connected to one sector, that I start feeling that I'm missing the big picture. That I don't see what else there is in the world. And then I've been in a general position with kind of a wide horizon of responsibilities. But once being for a while in that kind of position, I feel that I'm losing touch with the real world. So I need to get deeper into an area again. And then I go into a more kind of a narrow responsibility. So that's the pattern that I see in my career.
During the EduFest session that you will run in a week's time, what's kind of the topic that EduFest attendees can expect to hear about from you? Is it going to be on education and IB-oriented education, or is it going to be about some of these, if I can call them that, life lessons over your career, or is it going to be about some of the topics that you approach in your book? Tell us a little bit what people watching this video that will be at EduFest in a week's time can expect to hear about during your session.
Well, my intention is to tell about the how I see the world we're living in. What is this era that we are? And of course, then to connect that to the questions that if that is the world we're living in, what is the knowledge, skills, competencies, attitudes, values that young people would need in order to live a thriving life? But also the question that what that kind of a world is asking from the young people. So kind of both ways, and then actually go to the very concrete level that how we at the IB are implementing and executing that when we are developing our programs, our curriculum, our assessments. Because I think there's so much analysis in this world, but it's of course it's valuable. It's kind of sense making in this very complex moment we're living in. But then it's the question that what do we do with that analysis? And that's what we try to do, that we are in a position that we have the kind of opportunity to make sure that it's also implemented in the curriculums and our programs.
What I'm hearing is a lot more kind of hands-on and practical applications of all of these ideas, that the debate is conducive to something, but only if you actually really do apply it, right? And if I think about your career within the IB, when you joined in 2021, all the conversations around AI and particularly AI in education still very much felt a little bit like sci-fi. You know, like we didn't really have a timeline. We weren't sure if it was going to be in the next 5 or 10 or 15 years. And then, of course, within 18 months of you arriving at the IB, LLM systems became widely available to the public. And I think that has accelerated a lot of these discussions and the need, the sense of urgency to apply them and implement them. What would you say has been the biggest shift from your perspective in the time you've been at the IB when talking about the role of teachers and educators within schools? If any change at all. Maybe you think nothing has changed.
Sure. I think what you said is exactly right about the accelerating role of certain things that are happening. And I think there is the AI, but then there are the wars. There is the change of the world order that is happening, which has very strong, deep impacts on also what's happening in every classroom. And then you could also say that there is the question of how all this impacts our human kind of ability to live in that kind of a world. And of course, with students, we often name it as what is the well-being of the young people. So I would say that those are the three big trends that are coming to the surface now. I would say that the big thing really is that when this kind of bigger transformations happen, you have to go to the very basic questions. You have to go to the basic topics of what is schooling for? What's the meaning and purpose of education? What's the best way for the teacher, the authority to be executed in classrooms? And that's why I think this moment it has many challenges that we talk a lot about those challenges and risks, but it's also a huge opportunity because things are on the move and we have also the possibility to do things better because we are faced with kind of rethinking what is really valuable and meaningful and relevant for us as humans.
I like that this idea of the rethinking can also be very empowering, right? If we are on the move and if things are changing, regardless of whether we actually decide to act upon it or be participants in that transformation, we might as well then be part of it, right? If we're going to be in an environment that is changing, we're going to be part of communities and societies that have been shaken up by what's happening in the world in terms of security, in terms of environmental change, in terms of access to technologies and information and misinformation in many instances. I myself, I'm a product of the IB. I did the IB diploma program here at Le Rosé, graduated many years ago. And I originally come from Colombia, and the kind of education that I was exposed in Colombia was very different to then what I was exposed to here at Le Rosé, and especially once we entered the IB diploma program. And one thing that I really appreciated during that time was this kind of generalistic, in a way, approach, right? That even if I wanted to do a degree in the arts, I still was doing physics and I was doing economics and I was doing mathematics.
Yeah.
And it makes me think, if I were an IB student today, first, and as an adolescent, I'm not sure that I would have the same appreciation for the amount of coursework and the amount of just chapters to cover in each area. But with such a content heavy and so much of the IB requiring a lot of still learning and kind of memorization, hopefully people are going beyond the memorization. But if that's the basic level, how do you think that this might evolve with something? I was looking at the IB website this morning, and I saw that, for example, you've released a statement about the systems transformation pathway being rolled out to an additional number of schools over the next 2 years, and then hopefully in general in 2030. How do you see the IB being changed and transformed over the next couple of years with that in mind? Do you think it'll continue to be on the same basis of the 6 subjects, higher level, standard level, and a lot of the covering basic topics? Or do you see it as more of an application of these skills rather than just the knowledge itself?
Well, I would say that if we look at the IB programs from the early years and the middle years, the PYP and MYP, those are very much based already on that kind of an inquiry-based approach with the teacher, with the learner profile, with kind of a lot of competencies in the center in those years. I think that then the diploma program has been quite knowledge heavy also. But also, of course, there are, I would say, more than in most national education systems, there is also those elements that support the agency of the young person, cause kind of the extended essay and the, of course, the theory of knowledge looks at that knowledge from a different perspective. It's kind of a tool how to think about all that knowledge. I do see that we're going to the direction where uh, the motivation, the agency, and the identity development of a young person, and also the purpose that they have in fulfilling their passions, come more in the center. And that's exactly why we are now have made the decision to roll out the systems transformation element, because we see that those things in the world we are living in are becoming more and more important. And that's what young people are telling us. Like, for example, in the pilots that we have been doing for the last years, that is exactly what the young people are saying to us, that there is still a lot of work with those with the systems transformation, but it doesn't feel so much work because they are dealing with matters that are highly relevant for themselves, where they have an interest and they have also a say of the process of the learning. So their agency is not only about doing something that others have set for them, but they can also take part in their own learning process design. And I believe that that's the future of education, for us to go to that direction more generally.
I'm very excited about the systems transformation element of it because I think it does tap into intrinsic motivation so much more as well. That it isn't, like you said, I'm just ticking boxes because I have to do 6 subjects, 3 standard, 3 higher, whatever. But I am doing this because I am passionate. I am doing this because I am interested in it. I am doing it because it's something that moves me and motivates me. And I think that is a very pervasive, I think, attitude nowadays in wanting to be change makers and wanting to be active participants of the communities that we're part of and of the schools that we learn and grow up in and live in. So I think I'm very excited to see what happens with systems transformation. If we leave education and IB to the side for a moment, I'd be really curious to know what Olli-Pekka does during his free time, if you have any. If you like to read, you said you had a small career as a musician, if you still play any instruments or sing, or if you like to paint or draw, what are some kind of hobbies or passions that you like to do in your free time?
Well, I'm a heavy reader. I do read a lot, both kind of factual, but also actually more fiction, because and I do it every day.
Oh,
I read
really?
fiction every day.
What's
Uh,
a recent book that you read that you would recommend to us?
well, I'm right now reading. I can't remember the author, but it's a famous book which won the Man Booker Prize, I think, a couple of years ago. The Vegetarian is the
Right.
name.
Yes. By Han Kang. Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'm reading right now. But I usually have, like I have now, I think I have 4 books that I'm reading at the same time, because I need a bit of a different book for different sentiments and atmospheres.
Different
So
moods,
I
right?
like to have
Yes.
a chance to, yeah, to make a choice. But I do it for also, not, of course, for pleasure. I love reading, but I do it for a utility also, because it's so important to read fiction to make your own language a powerful tool. To I write a lot, and in order to do that, you need to read a lot, and that kind of beauty of the richness of good authors in the way that they use the tool of language. It's so fascinating, and that's what I try to kind of take those kind of hints and that richness as something that I would also learn from.
Absolutely. And in fact, you mentioned the vegetarian. I know the language of the author is so rich and evocative. At the moment, I'm reading Greek lessons as well, and it is just, to me, it's almost like how can I say this? I feel it motivates my own creativity, right?
Yeah.
After I have
Yeah.
read even just one or two chapters, I do feel like it allows me to see colors with more richness or with more depth.
Yeah.
That it makes me
Exactly.
think of food in a different way. It makes me
Yeah.
think of the sounds that
Yeah.
I'm hearing in a different way. And I totally agree with you that it can be such a recentering activity in a way to
Yeah.
appreciate the world around us and to gain and exercise that language that allows us to describe it also. Therefore, hopefully, allowing us to express our thoughts and ideas better
Yeah.
and in a more compelling way as well.
Mm.
A few
Yes.
days ago, I spoke with another of our Finnish speakers at EduFest, and he was telling me that one thing he likes to do during his free time is cook for his family. And so I was wondering, because as you know, EduFest is a celebration of education and everything that it entails. And I'm a big fan of ice cream. So I wanted to know, what's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Okay. I do cook to my family too. I'm a passionate cooker also, and thanks to my mother, who actually never taught me to cook, but I was there when I was young when she was cooking, and then one day when I was living on my own, I just noticed that actually I can cook. I know how to do it. And it was a strange feeling because she never said anything that do this or do that.
Right.
But just by kind of seeing what she was doing, I learned it, and I'm so thankful for her for that. My favorite ice cream comes. I'm a vegan, so
I
one
guess a sorbet
ice
then.
sorbets are yes, but there is quite often there is mango ice cream that is vegan,
Right,
and
right.
I definitely do like that.
What's a typical dish then that you like to make? Typical in the sense that you make it often and that you're very familiar with, that you like to
Well,
cook.
I'm a cook who really enjoys the change of the seasons and the change of the ingredients. That's kind of to get those fresh ingredients which are for certain special purpose. That's very important to me. Of the ingredients I do a lot of fish myself for others, and then of course everything that you can do of kind of vegetables and the kind of vegan ingredients are definitely high on my list.
We're slowly but surely arriving at the end of our conversation this morning. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience? Any parting thoughts or any encouragements to come and listen to your talk? Because as you know, during EduFest, we have talks at the same time, different speakers in different venues. I know that we'll have your book also during the festival, and you'll have a few minutes to sign some books for anyone that may be interested after your session. So let us know if there's anything else that you would like to share.
One thing is that I'll promise to give some kind of appetizers of my book also during my speech. So maybe that is something additional to add at the end. But thank you so much for this interview. Really enjoyed it, and I'm very much looking forward to coming to the La Rosée and having that possibility to engage with that audience.